going on, everybody? Welcome to another Predator review. We are going over Predator 2. You'll barely have time to catch your breath, says the Hollywood Reporter. This is a sequel that up until this point I had not seen it in its entirety. I had seen bits of it throughout my years on TV every now and then. I've seen most of it. I've seen all the key parts of it. But this was almost like a first time watch because I had never seen it from beginning all the way to the end. So this was basically almost like my first viewing. And let me tell you, this one doesn't get talked about enough. It doesn't get appreciated as much. I always hear people say that it's dog shit or it's just nowhere near as good as the first one. But let's not compare things to the first one, alright? Compare it to The Predator or something like that. Yes, this isn't as good as the first one, but I think this is a very good sequel. I had a good time. I had barely anything bad to say about this movie. I thought it was very good, and let's go over this one in this week's Horror Franchise Wednesday.
Predator 2.
Predator 2 came out in 1990 from the director of Nightmare on Elm Street 5, The Dream Child, the worst in that franchise in my opinion. Going into this, if I would have known that before, I would have been like, oh shit, this is going to be bad. But it's actually pretty good. So if you give this guy a good script, he can make a good movie. Dream Child is dog shit. But this was good. So this is about Murtaugh. No, Danny Glover, he is a cop, and one of his buddies dies from the Predator. Then the Predator is going after these gangs in LA. There's like gang warfare going on. It's not jungle warfare, it's the urban jungle. But anyways, Danny Glover wants revenge, and he's going after the Predator. He's going to take his ass out one way or another, even if it kills him. The positives for this movie is Murtaugh. I keep calling him that, but he's Danny Glover. His character in here, I like him. No, he's not as awesome as Dutch. He's not as muscular. He's not as intimidating just by his presence. When he acts like a badass, you believe it. He's very tall, and when he is pushing Gary Busey around, you are like, oh shit, he's gonna kick his ass, and you can buy it. This guy might not look like Dutch, but he can kick your ass like Dutch. I like the Predator. Once again, I like that they got the same actor from the first one to play him. A lot of this movie was done with the same cast and crew especially. Not same cast, but crew. A lot of people behind the scenes, same producers, composer, everything like that. The score, very similar to the first one. It's kind of updated a little bit, but you got that same sound that's carried over, but it's done differently. There's some new sound in here, and it makes sense because of the new setting, and I like the new setting. I like that they decided to go a little bit different. They didn't just continue the jungle thing once again. They went to the urban jungle. It's at LA, 1997. But I like that they gave the Predator these new tools. It's a different Predator because obviously the last one died, but we get to see this new Predator. He's got a little bit of a different look on his face once the mask gets taken off, but everything's still there. Continuity, the way to think the Predator looks, his new gadgets. He's got a web that cuts people open, and he's got this boomerang circular blade that he throws around. Awesome stuff. I like his gadgets, and I like the Predator in this movie, once again, awesome as always. I like all the little winks to the first movie, just little lines in here that are carried from the first one, little homages paid to the first movie that I like. They don't really get in the way, they don't make you roll your eyes, they're just fun. This movie also has a very great pace. It just opens with a bang. There's a big old gunfight in the middle of LA, two gangs, or at least one of them are firing at the police officers, and it's just non-stop action. I like that we get to see the Predator spaceship. The little look of it inside. It's got a fog machine in there. There's lots of fog and alien bones on the wall. All his trophies. It's got a trophy shelf. I also like the cast in this movie just because of the familiar faces. You got Bill Paxton in here. You got Danny Glover. You got Gary Busey. There's another guy I recognize, but I didn't look him up. I'm sure I've seen him in other places. But you got fucking Mother Superior from Silent Night, Deadly Night in here. When I saw her, my jaw dropped. I couldn't believe my eyes. Mother Superior, I hate you, but goddamn, it's good to see you. The hottest chick award goes to the naked girl having sex. The only negatives I have with this is just, it would have been nice to see Dutch again. Why not carry his character over? When this shit's happening in LA, why wouldn't he be the first person they call? Give us some information. How do we stop this guy? But behind the scenes, Arnold Schwarzenegger, he has some salary dispute. He wanted more money than they would give him, so he said, fuck you, I'll go do something else. The tone's a little bit uneven. It's not like the tone of the first movie. It's very hokey in a couple small sections in here, like the subway scene and the grandma with the broomstick. There's weird comedic moments within the film that kind of come out of nowhere. It's very serious for the most part. It's intense. It's fast-paced. And then there's some weird hokey moments in the movie. I'm like, that wasn't funny. That's just weird. And also one of the secondary characters in this movie, Fiona, the pregnant chick, she feels very useless. She doesn't do much. They don't utilize her character in any uh, interesting or important way that actually like serves a purpose, or she like drives the plot forward. She doesn't do anything. Like, she's just there. She grabs a guy's nuts at one point, and that's the only funny thing she does. There's nothing really to her. Like, she doesn't serve any purpose at all. Like, Bill Paxton's the character. He's like the new Shane Black, where he's the one telling dumb jokes that don't land, and he's doing the surveillance on Gary Busey's character, and then she kind of like tags along, but she doesn't really do much. So I felt like they could have made her character stand out or be interesting or funny, do something important, but instead she's just doing nothing, and then she just gets carted away towards the third act, and it's just like, all right, there goes her character. I won't miss her. And the clap reward for best scene goes to the fight between Danny Glover and the Predator towards the end, when the Predator just has one arm and Danny has that weapon of his, and they just go at it in that spaceship. But final thoughts, I think this is a good sequel. It's got some great action in it. It's very 90s. It's got a great cast in it. The Predator is back and just as great as he was in the first one. The special effects of his like silhouette, his camouflage, and just lots of cool looking shots in here, some cool moments. It's got some funny jokes in it, but it's got the same brutality and the skinned bodies that you would see in the first one. All that's carried over. It feels like a sequel to the first one. I think it was even written by the same people, so this is a worthy sequel to check out. So when it comes to Predator 2, definitely go out and buy it. Time for the spoiler discussion. We got the street fight in LA. You got Murtaugh. I'm gonna keep calling him that. He just comes in. He just puts these bulletproof vests up against the windows, and he does this daring ass stunt, just driving down the street towards gunfire, and all the bullets are missing him somehow. He just slides it in there. It's like, that is a ballsy ass move on Danny's part. Good for you. It's 97. I don't know why it needs to be 10 years later. It could have just been 1990, present day, something like that. But they just want to be 10 years later because why not? You know, anniversaries and all. And then this guy falls on the world's sturdiest table. The guy, he chases him up to the roof. The Predator, he takes out all the other gang members, and they don't know what the hell's going on. All their chests are like ripped open and whatnot. But the other guy gets chased to the roof. He falls off, and he lands on like a picnic table, and it doesn't even break. It's like, get the fuck out of here. And then we see Fiona at the office, and we meet Bill Paxton's character, and he's like flirting with her, and Murtaugh and the other guy, what's his face, they're just watching from afar, and then she's like grabbing his balls like, I don't want anything to do with you. That is a double standard. That is sexual harassment, even if you're not sexually pleased while having your balls squeezed, or she's not sexually aroused by torturing you, like she's not like a sadist. Doesn't matter. She's grabbing his balls, escort her out. And then we see this couple having sex in their big old condo in LA, and they got like the giant windows in their apartment where you can like see the whole city, and the whole city can see you if they have binoculars, and they're just having sex and being butt-ass naked in their living room. I could not do that. If I ever have like that luxurious, like big old apartment in New York or LA, and all the windows are just exposing my entire life to the world, anyone with a set of binoculars can see me walking around, I would just get paranoid. I would be paranoid all day. I would have blinds up all the fucking time. I don't care what time of the day it is. And they just got all the blinds open. Everybody in New York or LA can see them. So I want to point that out. That was funny. But then their sex gets interrupted. All the other gang members come in. And this chick is basically like the version of that one girl in the first one who doesn't speak English. And then when the Murtaugh and them come by later, like, what happened? The force came alive. It's basically a rinse and repeat of that situation that's brought back into here. And that's the only thing that Fiona does, is she's the translator. There's her purpose. She served it. Yeah, the Predator, he comes in, he just kills all these gangsters and just slices them up. He like has that web thing that falls on that one guy and like chops him in a million pieces. It's cut. The MPAA made this movie cut a bunch of shit out, and I wonder if they actually went there like a Cube movie, where the guy just got sliced into a bunch of cubes. That would have been awesome to see. But the MPAA did what they always do, fucked the movie in the ass, and said, you're going to bow down to our will. We don't want no blood. I found it kind of weird that the weapons that the Predator uses don't have camouflage on them. In the first one, everything he did like was camouflage. Like when he was shooting at people, camouflage. Even his weapon on his shoulder was. And this one, everything he's holding isn't invisible. So I thought that was weird. Like, That gives away your position, so you would think they would update their technology in the Predator world to have their weapons be invisible as well. Then Murtaugh and his gang, they go to that apartment and they see all the bodies or skin hanging upside down, and Murtaugh sends one of his friends to go like retrieve a weapon they saw up at the top, but they couldn't get it because they got kicked out by Gary Busey's character. But then his friend goes there later on, completely contaminating the crime scene, putting his hands on everything, stepping on everything. What a moron. And then he just goes up, gets the weapon, but then the Predator takes him out. So now we got a motivation for Murtaugh. And Murtaugh, he's freaking pissed off about it. He sees Gary Busey's character. He just goes up to him. I think his name's Keys. He just like slams him up against the wall like, fucking tell me who you are. What is this thing we're dealing with? And then after that confrontation, he's like slamming them up against the wall like 5 times. He walks away, and then there's his 2 bodyguards that like step into frame like, we'll go get him. It's like, where the fuck were you guys? Like 5 seconds ago when Danny Boy was whipping your guy's ass, just making a fool out of him, making him look like a pussy in front of the whole department. They did nothing. The Keys should fire those people. Then we see Mother Superior. Holy shit. She hasn't aged one bit 9 years later, or it was 6 years later, or over 15 if you're going by this movie's timeline. Oh yeah, another little thing that gets carried over from the first one is the whole voice recording thing. I like that. He records Danny Boy. He replays it right before he kills Danny's friend. And then, yeah, Glover is just a badass in this movie. No matter, even if he's skinny, he's not buff, he's still badass. And I root for him. And then the Predator, he gets this guy's skull. He's like polishing it. He's like polishing the skull, cleaning all the blood off of it after he rips that gangster's spine out. And I like that shot of him like walking on the water. So he's like invisible, but you can see the impact. Like there's something there, like the footsteps in the water. I thought that was awesome. That's a cool shot. Probably one of my favorite shots, but not quite. We'll get there. And yeah, and then we got this disobedient kid. Murtaugh goes to visit his dead friend at the cemetery, and the parents are like, stay in here, Timmy. We mean it. 2 seconds later, Timmy's going away. What a fucking brat. Don't have children. And then the kid's offering the Predator candy. Usually that's reverse. You know, like adults will offer children candy, the pedophiles. This is a kid offering an adult candy that's a stranger. And then we get to the train scene, and this is a funny scene, but it's also a dumb scene. I don't like the way it was shot. It's the strobe light effect. All the lights go off, and the lights are like flashing every once in a while, so you can't see what the hell's going on, but people are getting like their throats slit and whatnot. But before all that happens, this gang is like on the train, and they're like about to rob this guy. He's packed. He gets his gun out. He's like, get the fuck away. And then all of a sudden, everybody on the train's packing, every single civilian. And then this is how Murtaugh finds out that if you're packing, you're on the table. You're allowed to be killed by the Predator. He only kills people who have guns. And we learned that in part 1. But this is when Murtaugh learns of it. But yeah, this is when Bill Paxton dies. And it's like a lame kill for his character, because he was not the main character, but he was funny. He was a good enough character that I was like enjoying his presence. I like Bill Paxton. And it was kind of sad to see him go and how lame he went. They give Gary Busey a cool kill. And then all of a sudden, Bill Paxton, he just gets carried off into the darkness, and we don't really see what the fuck happens to him. His body's like hanging with all his clothes on, and then later on, I think the Predator takes his skull eventually. But yeah, just a lame way for him to go. And this is when we find out that the cop Fiona is pregnant, and apparently the Predator has morals. He ain't gonna kill no pregnant chick, even if she is packing. And then we get my favorite shot in the movie, and that's the Predator on top of the skyscraper. There's a bunch of like lightning and storm clouds above him. He's like roaring or something. Awesome shot. And then Murtaugh, he meets up with Keys in his like semi-truck office, his little science laboratory, whatever the fuck they got going on in there. And he's like talking about the first movie. He's like, 10 years ago, we sent a team into South America, blah, blah, blah. They came back and they told us about these aliens. There was only like 1 or 2 survivors. So that was like the continuity to that. This is what connects us in that film. We're in the same universe. It's not negating that. It's not saying it doesn't exist. This is a sequel. And I like that we get that reference to the first one, that they actually talk about it. They acknowledge it. Mr. Keys talks about his plan to capture the alien or the Predator. He calls it a Predator. I like that. He calls it an alien, and then he calls it a Predator. And then later on, we see an alien skull from the Alien franchise. And this is before Alien vs. Predator, so I like that this kind of sets up that movie to that eventually comes like 14 years later. But yeah, they want to capture the Predator because they want to use its weapons. They want to study it. They want to see if it can somehow help the U.S. military, if we can upgrade our weapons and whatnot. Been there, done that, nothing original there. But they go in there and they got these suits on that make their heat signatures go away, and like we find out that the Predator, he doesn't have just that one heat signature vision no more. He has like 5 different modes in his helmet. He goes like this mode, that mode, this mode, and then he switches to like a light mode where he can see like lights and whatnot. So he sees all their flashlights, and that's how he's able to target them. And I like that the sprinkler system comes on and like disables his camouflaging invisibility weapon on him, so therefore he can't be invisible for the rest of the movie, giving Murtaugh the advantage. And because he can't be invisible, Murtaugh is whipping his ass, he's ducking from his the alien's bullets and whatnot, and he gets his weapon from him, stabs him, like chops his arm off eventually. The mask comes off his face, and he calls him a pussy face. Like, he ain't taking shit from this guy. He ain't taking shit from nobody. He never has, and he never will. He ain't scared of nothing. Murtaugh, he's a badass.
You are one ugly mother. Motherfucker.
Oh yeah, the Predator says shit happens. I thought that was weird. See, that goes with that tone I was talking about, the weirdness, the weird hokiness. The Predator doesn't say shit happens. Who said that? Nobody in this movie says shit happens that I could remember or I heard. I didn't hear anybody say that. So who? And that was his voice. That wasn't like him playing somebody else saying shit happens. That was the Predator, and Predator speak saying shit happens. Like, who the fuck said that? That was just weird. Like, I don't know. I don't think the Predator would say that. And yeah, he calls him pussy face. They're on the roof. He chops his arm off, sends the bitch flying, and then he lands in this old people's apartment, and it doesn't wake them up until he's like cauterizing his wounds. And I like that these new devices that we get to see that the Predator has, the blue fire, just the visual of it, cauterizes his wounds. And Murtaugh is still chasing after his ass. He chases him into the spaceship. And he finds this trophy wall, and then we see the alien skull, and then they have a battle. This is awesome, this fight between them, and he just takes this little boomerang circular blade thing and just stabs him in his gut. He should have said suck on this, like that chicken intruder. But yeah, then he kills the Predator, and then like a dozen other Predators just come into view, and they just give him a trophy. It's some pistol from like 1715, like, here you go, you won, like, you beat him. So it's like, okay, all right, there's more Predators in this movie than there is in Predators, the third movie. But then the Predators, they all leave, and they're using their invisible shit for some reason. Why do they need to be invisible when they take their spaceship out? Where did this spaceship come from? How come nobody knew about it? Where is this in the city and they didn't find it? And they don't see it leaving? I don't know. But then Murtaugh just leaves, and then the helicopter, the last second chopper, just like the first movie, the last second chopper at the very end just comes to pick him up. Yeah, or I think it was like the bad guys or whatnot, but whatever. Just a last second chopper thing again. But just more badass moments from Murtaugh when the 10 Predators show up. He's like, who's next? Like, he's just like confident that he can take them on. See, I just love his character.
Okay, who's next?
But then the spaceship leaves and yada yada yada. The end. Great movie, awesome stuff. And the Mr. Twig Award will go to Bill Paxton because he didn't deserve to die like that. And the Mr. Head Award for Best Kill will go to Gary Busey, who gets chopped in half. And those are my thoughts on Predator 2. What did you think about this sequel? Do you like it better than the first one? I'd be curious to find somebody who actually prefers this over the first one. Where would you put it in your ranking? Do you think it's the second best at least? I think this is good. I like it. So put your thoughts on this film in the comments below. Defend it, hate on it, do whatever you want. Hit this like button, share with all your friends if you like what you've seen here, and you can become a subscriber if you haven't done so already just by clicking on my cartoon face in about 5 seconds. And until next time, auf Wiedersehen.